The year is 1204. The air over Constantinople is thick with the smoke of betrayal and the promise of plunder. This is not a siege by the expected enemies of the Byzantine Empire, not the Seljuk Turks or some rival sultanate. No, the army camped outside the greatest walls in Christendom flies the banners of the cross. They are crusaders, but tonight they are not here to liberate Jerusalem. They are here to shatter the ancient heart of the Roman world. For weeks the soldiers of the Fourth Crusade had waited, their holy mission fatally diverted. They were deeply in debt to the Venetian doge, Enrico Dandolo, a blind man whose vision for mercantile empire was sharper than any knight's sword. He had offered them a way to clear their debt, a simple intervention in Byzantine politics. Help the young Prince Alexios Angelos reclaim the throne from his usurper uncle, and he would pay them handsomely and supply an army for the Holy Land. It seemed a straightforward transaction, but it was a pact with a ghost. On April 12 the Crusaders launched their first major assault. They failed. The massive Theodosian walls, standing for nearly 1,000 years, held firm. Morale plummeted, but Dandolo, a man of terrifying resolve, would not let them retreat. A day later, on the 13th, they attacked again. And this is where history turns on a hinge of fire and chance. A strong north wind filled the sails of the Venetian galleys, driving them ferociously towards the sea walls. A small, almost insignificant breach was made, but the real turning point was one of psychological warfare, a detail lost in most grand narratives. As the Franks fought below, a small band of men, perhaps led by the shadowy knight Peter of Amiens, managed to seize a single tower. From there they did not charge into the city. Instead, they began to open the gates from within. But the most potent weapon they unleashed was not a sword, but a rumor. A whisper, deliberate and terrifying, snaked its way through the defending Greek forces. The emperor has fled. It was a lie. The Emperor Alexios V was desperately rallying his troops, but the seed of panic took root. The defense, already strained, began to crumble from the inside out. Discipline dissolved into a frantic scramble for survival. The unthinkable was happening. Constantinople, the new Rome, the city that had repelled every invader for a millennium, was falling not to its strength, but to its fear. What followed was not a battle, but a 3-day nightmare of unparalleled savagery. The Crusaders, who had vowed to fight infidels, instead unleashed their pent-up frustration and greed upon the greatest Christian city on earth. They stormed the Church of the Holy Wisdom, the Hagia Sophia, and hacked the silver altar to pieces. They smashed holy relics and placed a prostitute on the patriarch's throne. Ancient bronze statues were melted down for coin. The Great Library of Constantinople, a last fragile repository of ancient Greek and Roman knowledge, was put to the torch, its wisdom turning to ash on the wind. But the deepest cut, the most profound loss, was one of spirit. The Great Schism of 1054 had already divided Christianity east and west, but the sack of 1204 poured salt into that wound, embedding a hatred so deep and lasting that it would never truly heal. The Byzantines would eventually retake their city, but their empire was mortally wounded, a ghost of itself, finally to be extinguished by the Ottomans in 1453 with no hope of Western aid. So we are left with a chilling paradox. The Fourth Crusade, a venture launched with the highest religious ideals, became history's most destructive act of corporate bankruptcy. It was a holy war that forgot its enemy, a pilgrimage that never reached its shrine, devoured by the cold, hard calculus of debt and the volatile chemistry of ambition and fear. It forces us to ask, what happens when faith becomes a currency and salvation is just another item on a balance sheet? The sack of Constantinople stands as a stark, eternal monument to the truth that the road to ruin is often paved with the very best of intentions, gone horribly, tragically astray.